Hello. Um, I have decided to make another video on a topic that I've been wanting to make a video on for quite some time. And this time it's going to be about really a really specific topic um, that I don't know how I can summarize it all in 15 minutes, all of my thoughts on this issue, because it is such a, for my life at least, but for many, it's such a big, pervasive problem. Um, but I've, been in Sweden for the last month and, well, in Europe because I was also traveling afterwards. And I had a lot of time to reflect and think on things. I mean, I always have a lot of time to do that, but this was particularly, particularly a reflective time and digging really deep into understanding what the underlying causes of, in my case, depression, what these things could have been coming from, and really kind of really going through some real self-therapy, an inner dialogue with myself on all these issues. But the biggest thing that always comes into the conversation for me is body image and I guess you could call it body confidence, as well as tying that into gender performance and self-esteem, and sexuality kind of comes into play with it as well. All of these things, but male body image is what I'm going to be talking about today. But it crosses over in many cases into the same issues that female body image delves into, which is at the root of it, insecurities in your own appearance and, thoughts in your head that you keep telling yourself, no matter what people may say to you, sometimes that you're just you're never going to look good enough. No matter how much weight you lose, or no matter how much you work out at the gym, it's never enough. You're still going to push yourself and have these goals that could sometimes be completely unrealistic for your set of circumstances at either the time or possibly ever. And you just find yourself never feeling satisfied from this endless search for a better body. And this translating that into just, the body being the end result of who you are and justification for your self-worth and who you, your acceptance and worthiness of being loved and existing is a horrible sort of shallow way of understanding who you really are as a person and as a being, as a spiritual being, or just as a social being. It really limits you and just completely destroys your self-esteem when you get too caught up in it. And so for me, I wanted to spend a lot of time really thinking about how working out for me has always been such a battle and such a struggle to, to fight depression. Working out alleviates depression, and it gives you a lot of energy in the long run. The more you work out, the easier it is to work out and exercise afterwards. It's just starting after you haven't done it for a long time or possibly ever. It's very difficult, and it takes a lot of discipline, just like sometimes just getting up out of bed can take, when someone is very, very depressed. So I will, I notice that, it's coming more and more popular for success stories to be, and this was always the case, before in like magazines and stuff and TV, but now with social media, it's very apparent that, these sometimes very quick transformations that people go through, that they show and document through photographs and stuff on like Instagram, for example, of how, they went from being really fat, and sometimes they don't even look what, many would consider fat to begin with. And they became super muscular and super fit. And now this is their entire lifestyle, is about protein shakes and about, going to the gym 5 to 6 days a week and doing, all of this marketing almost around their body. Now, a lot of this is models and people who are signing up to say, yes, my body is something I'm using for profit, because if you're a model, that kind of is the case. And I understand that Instagram is largely catering to that because it's, it's not the average person we're talking about who's doing this. But I can see it, slowly filtering into just general people, are doing this. And it is great that there is such a community of people who are really trying to get fit. They're like trying to, and in the gay community, it's become this huge culture. And so in my case, I mean, I'm really going to be fixating more on the gay community because that's my experience and it's what I can speak for. But, obviously there are some reasons why in the gay community this becomes such a big issue and such almost obsessive culture, and that body becomes so important. It ties into sexuality and it ties into idea of worthiness and of manhood. The submissive versus dominant stereotypes of gender come into play, and all of these things that, a lot of gay men aspire to be, or at the very least aspire to have in a boyfriend. But the tricky part is that, it's more than just tricky. I mean, the really sad thing about all of this is, and I see this over and over again, is that these guys will make videos on YouTube or on Instagram or Snapchat or something, and they'll talk about just like, anyone can do this, and I overcame so much to get to the place where I am. And you see the world like in their social media filtered world seems to suddenly just become so full of smiling faces and beautiful locations and, success because their body looks somewhat like more idealized. They look really fit. And they're not afraid to be shirtless and model clothes because they'll look really good in them. And this transformation I've noticed a lot. And they talk about how they push themselves. It was like sometimes like 6 months of just like the most rigorous training in their life and all of these things. And they say, and then they talk about how they felt so insecure about their body and stuff. But there just comes a point where you see all these guys who already look very good. I mean, it's all subjective, handsome and non-handsome and all that, but we can most of the time kind of collectively agree that these guys have it going on. But, they're talking about how they don't accept their bodies and how it was really difficult for them to gain the muscle or to lose weight, all of these things. And of course, I mean, that is the truth. I mean, it is very difficult. It's not easy for anyone. It's a lot of work to put your mindset into that kind of thing, especially if you're juggling all these other things in your life, which most people are. But, a lot of people say, we're saying, this doesn't feel real. These people don't, I appreciate their experience and they have every right to say, look what I did. They deserve a pat on the back for the hard work. But, at what point does this sort of, it just, when the gay community kind of will look back in itself in the mirror, it's sort of like you have all these guys who just never think they look good enough. And, I can't help but just think about a lot of guys will look at these videos and be like, but this guy looks already amazing. Like, I don't want to hear you talk about the problems that I'm really, really struggling, because you just briefly talk about them in a 5-minute video and then sponsor your product that you're, using all the time. It's probably giving you loads of money anyway to afford, so that you can be able to afford your very fit lifestyle with your rich personal trainer and, at your fancy gym. And it becomes very inauthentic when you just kind of gloss over this and don't dive into the nuances and the complexities that tie into what causes male body image crisis, male body image issues in particularly the gay community. And it's the same for when, in the female community. I mean, for women, it's a very similar issue. But, I just wanted to make this video to sort of be there for people who I'm not, I don't think I, look good. I've subconsciously been telling myself that all my life. And, I mean, to say that out loud, makes me think, oh gosh, probably like that's being really hard on myself. Like I know I do love myself, and I've come to a point where I really am starting to really accept myself, even if I don't have all that muscle I always wanted to have. You know, it's not that I might not get it someday. Maybe I will, but if I don't, I'm still perfect the way I am. The way I look right this second is fine and completely validated as an existence as a male, as a man, in the gender specific ideology of what a man should be or a guy. All of these things, but just even as a human being, I'm trying not to let that false narrative of I won't get what I really want in my reality until I look a certain way, and until then, my life is going to be darker and it's going to be a lot more unhappy. And I mean, it's so easy it sounds silly because, but it's so easy to get caught up in that. And unfortunately, the world is kind of unfair when it comes to this. Sometimes, it really does feel like beautiful people have just such an easier time of life. But the truth is we all are struggling with, and some people who you would think are so happy because of their appearance, and the way they portray themselves on social media could be actually very depressed, possibly suicidal, and it can be very dangerous because they don't address it at all. They just push it away and pretend that, they don't want to connect with that and let people know their vulnerability. And so, a lot of guys will just sort of say, I got really inspired one day to work out. And it's like, well, that's great. Good for you. You hit a low point, join the rest of us. And we all hit low points, especially, I mean, anyone who's remotely dealt with anxiety or depression, it's so very easy to think every single day, I mean, I've wanted to change. I've wanted to fix things about myself, behaviorally or physically or emotionally. And, it's a whole other thing entirely, particularly when you're all by yourself and you don't have someone pushing you to act on that inspiration to actually go to the gym and not just go once, but keep going and make that lifestyle change and really focus all of your energy on that. I mean, it's perfectly possible, but the way these guys talk about it, it just completely neglects the fact that this isn't an overnight thing that you decide. This is like sometimes years and years of struggling and going a little bit further and then going completely back, and backtracking. I mean, coming through with depression, every step you make, depression is going to push you, like, every 2 steps forward, depression is going to push you 1 step back. It's never going to just like let go of the reins and be like, I'm going to let you go forward for a long time and I'm not going to like stick my muddy fingers in your life. No, it's always going to be there. It's always going to pull. There's always going to be that resistance to everything that you do, especially when you're at that point where you really are trying to come out of your worst depressive episodes of your life. I mean, it's not an easy thing. So it's a gradual adjustment to going to the gym more often. It's a gradual mental adjustment to the discipline. And yes, the more you do it, the easier it becomes because you become actually addicted to it. And you start actually really wanting to work out. And that's really good because it's good to know that it does get easier to help sort of motivate you. It's like, yeah, I know it's hard at the beginning, but it's really important to address that, and it's not this instant success story thing. I mean, sometimes it's surprising how fast some people can change their bodies, but the other thing that's completely, of course, ignored is the fact that everyone's body is different. Some people have, dietary, diabetic issues that, thyroid issues. I mean, in terms of metabolism, it can be so difficult. The cards can be so stacked against them to lose weight or to gain muscle. It's a very, unfortunately, can feel very rigged, this game. And it's true that, with hard work, anyone can achieve this, but everyone kind of starts at different levels, and some have to do a lot more of different types of things than others. It's all going to be hard work for everyone, but I really do believe it's a lot harder for certain people with certain body types, and it's just the unfortunate reality of it. And it's something that, this one size fits all fitness program that just was pushed through, like for men, it's like, no, it's got to be unique. It's got to be like catered to this individual's not only physical makeup, but also mental and emotional makeup, so that it doesn't, cause these, that it doesn't cause problems and also cause injury or health issues. So that's never taken into consideration. But the other thing that's also really, really important, really bugs me more than ever, is the classist privilege that these people flaunt in their lifestyles. The amount of money it takes to maintain this sort of nutrition and exercise regime, oftentimes having a personal trainer, because it really helps to have a personal trainer when you do these things. If you want fast results, it almost feels like you have to have someone who's telling you what you're doing is right or wrong. It just, you save so much time. If you want it fast, you don't want to take a really slow route where you find yourself wasting your time. So all of this, even just a gym membership, it costs a lot of money off the end of the day, not to mention time. That's the biggest money factor of the whole thing. A lot of us work so much during the day, we don't have time to work out at all. It's some people can't do anything other than work. They need their time off. They're like, I'm, for example, a person that can handle a lot at once. I just shut down, and I'm hoping to work to get to a place where I can handle dealing with different jobs at once, and also keeping up with working out and keeping up with my art and creating and all of these things. But it takes a lot from some people to change and figure that out, and it's so overwhelming. So the issues I have with this, it's just, it's not, what it really comes down to is this subconscious sort of portrayal of the ideal male body image, which we've always had sort of, the Ken and Barbie problem. That's always been an issue in mainstream media, particularly with the Barbie problem, which luckily media is starting to slowly try and address this deeply grievous, horrendous harm that they have done with, the Barbie imagery, which is what I'm just saying to call, summarize the female body image issues that the industry, has wrongly promoted for so many years. Male body image standards are struggling even farther behind that. It's only slowly becoming a bigger issue that in the gay community, particularly, where it's always been a bigger issue, that it's starting to, but also in, straight guys can have this problem. I know people who slave themselves away in the gym, and it's, it's not to impress a guy. It's for, it could be even a sports thing. We need to look at that as well. Just masculine culture in general, pushing people, sometimes, it's, so if they want to do it, then they want to do it. But if it's not who they really are, and they're judged just by their height and their weight and their body, BMI and all of these things, and they're not judged by who they really are, it's very shallow. It's not going in the right direction. So, to give a sort of real broad summary of what this really comes down to and how I felt like I needed to deal with this going forward, is just reminding myself, yes, if I do go to the gym, that this is not, I'm doing this first and foremost for myself. I'm not doing this to impress anyone else. At least if that is a reason, it's a minuscule one. I'm going to the gym because I want to feel better, because exercise does make you feel better and it's healthy. I'm going to the gym because, if I do, maybe I'll gain a pound of muscle or something, instead of thinking I have to reach this certain goal, and the goal is kind of high, and maybe a little bit unrealistic for your circumstances at the moment. Just thinking, well, I'm gaining something. I'm doing something towards my goal. And that is worth being patted on the back for. That in itself should make you feel better. I usually do feel a lot better. Just it's not about, necessarily ever reaching this far off goal. I may keep striving and keep pushing myself, but at the same time, constantly checking my mental health and realizing, okay, am I still okay though that I keep pushing myself with this? Is this consuming my thoughts day to day? And when I go out in public, am I really self-conscious about this still? Is this really getting me down and causing me to become very dark and depressed about my image and reality and society, which is something I'm always going to struggle with. But, there's times when it's not so bad, and it all comes down to just positively reconstructing these thoughts and processes, to reminding yourself that even when you didn't do these workouts, you were fine and beautiful and accepted, and you're worthy of being loved by someone, just as you are now, maybe with the body that you have now. And if you get that body that maybe you could get, that's great. But if you don't get it, you realized that you would have had to put yourself through something that would have tortured you mentally. I mean, it could have really done serious damage. And at least at that time, I mean, you don't have to say never. Down the line, who knows what may happen? You may be in a different situation financially. You may be living somewhere else where it's a lot easier for you to get to a gym, and you might have a friend who helps you so much more, or a partner, significant other. So, you can't limit yourself that way. But you just, at least for me, because I have a lot of other goals. I mean, I have a fitness goal, but I can't let my fitness goal trump all of my artistic goals. And more than that, I can't let that trump all of my career goals or my spiritual goals, which are so much more important. I mean, the fitness goal is like really at the bottom. Not to say it's not important to be fit, but, there's a difference between going on a run, because you want to listen to music or just get moving and, burn some calories, then, which can be really relaxing and fun, and also then dragging yourself to a gym to do all of these torturous repetitions of weight exercises that you really don't want to do. I mean, who wants to lift weights, right? It's not that much fun, unless you're, not lifting much weight, and then it's boring and it's not easy. Which is wasting your time. So it's supposed to be painful. It's not like running can be really fun. So there's a difference there. Everyone should run or walk, if they can. It's so important. But the weight training, the culture around it is becoming very suffocating for men. And I think it's hitting the gay community really hard. And it's messed up a lot of, people's perceptions of their bodies, and it's made them also very judgmental of others because, they have to have a six-pack, or they have to have, not to mention, gay guys can be very judgmental and picky to begin with, which is a whole other thing. But it does tie a lot to that. So to wrap this up, because I don't want this video to be super long. I mean, I could talk about this for a long, long time. To anyone out there who, watches, the media, like watches people on YouTube or Instagram or on TV or in movies or what have you, or just friends, neighbors, whoever, go through these amazing body transformations and makes it look so easy. And you think every day it just like gets you down, and it makes you feel like, God, what am I doing with my life? Like, unless you are morbidly obese and the doctor keeps telling you that you are like in a serious health risk, you need to sit down with yourself and just hug yourself. Like, just hold your body, like feel your skin. Just hold yourself in an environment you feel very comfortable, and either out loud or in your head, just repeat to yourself that you are beautiful and worthy, just as your body is in this moment. And even if you are in a dangerous place health-wise, you still need to do this, because it'll build self-esteem and confidence for you to fix anything that might be like a real health concern. You always want to err on the side of loving yourself, and accepting yourself. It's such a, I know it sounds kind of cheesy too. It's like, what's that? Like people tell you to love yourself all the time, and it's these same people who look really amazing. And it's like, yeah, if I was you, I would love myself. Like, no fucking way. Like, of course I would. You look amazing, and your life seems perfect. I mean, look at your Instagram, look at your social media, look at your life. But I mean, it's a social media is, again, it's a whole other kind of thing that kind of cross connects into all these issues, and I could talk about that, but because you have to be really careful about how much you use social media. I mean, it's a really dangerous tool. It's a powerful tool and it's an important tool, but it's a very dangerous tool. So I mean, every day you just holding yourself. I think that feeling of like holding yourself, it just reminds you that this is your skin, this is your body. And yeah, it's cheesy, but it could be way worse. Appreciate your health and who you are. And I just feel like, I mean, I don't know if you want an ugly person to tell you this, I know it would help me to hear someone who maybe doesn't look so conventionally beautiful, to be like a little bit more raw and real about this, because although it's great seeing guys who we all would aspire to look like tell us that our self-worth is something that we can build, and it comes off sometimes, if it's only from that sector of people, as something that they own and somehow we have to claim for ourselves, like we aren't worthy like they are at this moment because we didn't put in the effort they did. Like they proved that they really loved themselves because they spent so much time in the gym. But you look at you're just sitting there, you're just watching this video on the couch, depressed about your life, and you're not worthy of feeling the way I feel about myself right now because you don't have the body I have. You didn't put in all this work. And I know that they're not saying this, and I know I'm putting words in a lot of these people's mouths. I do not mean any ill will. But I just want some people to realize the ways they can come off. I mean, I'm all about body language, and I always read more into what people say than they probably really mean. I'm just a people reader. It's who I am. But sometimes I've seen people comment on videos and stuff that's saying this exact same thing. And it just really made me want to make this video because I just totally get it every time. I'm just like, good for you. I'm so proud of you. And you are on the right path and you're not doing anything wrong. But it's also important for you to watch and listen to other people's experiences with this. And it's important to tell the person viewing this, if they feel really down about themselves and they're looking at someone who looks just so incredible, talking about an issue that they seem to that it's hard to believe on your end that they actually ever experienced. I'm like, they were depressed. Like, come on. It seems so hard, but it's true. And you really have to believe it. If someone tells you that they felt this, I mean, you really have to believe that they experienced this. But for someone to say that to you through the camera, that like you don't have to do that, like I chose to do it, but it's not everyone's path. And mainstream media really shouldn't be force feeding that. Mainstream media should not be telling guys that they can't discover their full potential unless their, body BMI muscle is a certain percentage and, their, all of these, their muscles are a certain size and all of these things. I mean, it's just, it's a really dangerous, no one's ever good enough game that just keeps getting played. And it hurts everyone. So I had to just put this out there. I don't know where my fitness journey is going to take me this summer and onwards. I haven't really worked out in a while lately because I've been such in a kind of deep, insular artistic kind of space, which kind of can be at odds at the sort of more masculine get up and work out phase of me that doesn't always equate with the more artistic side of my personality. So it's hard for me to juggle those two things and make them cohabitate in me as well and work together and not overpower one or the other. Because I'd like to paint and work out, but sometimes I feel like I have to choose one or the other for the time being. But I'm working on that. So it's a half-hour video, but it had to be a half-hour video. I mean, it's just such an important topic that doesn't get addressed as much as it should. But I hope this helps anyone, that they can sort of think, yeah, I feel this too when I see this, you know, like, and just when you see that the next time, like, be aware of it in your head. Like, okay, this guy's making me feel kind of self-conscious and making me feel like kind of, you know, like I'm not good enough because he looks so good. You have to just kind of mentally remind yourself that you are your own beautiful person, and that you already told yourself that you are on your own path and you're working towards whatever you need to work towards. And there's no rush. There's no deadline. It's all, you know, it's all your choice. You're in control of your own happiness, and whether you want it now or if you want it, you know, like it's not in the gym's hands. It's not like the gym's holding it and you have to work at the gym to get it, to achieve it, to earn it like money. It comes from such a deeper place that doesn't care about how much muscle you have, or, you know, how your face looks, or if you have blue eyes, or if you're 4'8" or 6'5". You know, it doesn't care. It's a deeper, you know, connection and consciousness and spirituality that we all need to be a little bit more in tune with ourselves to understand our identity and stuff. So that's all for now. Yeah, I feel good about getting all of this out there. This was something I needed to make. I'm sure there's more I could have mentioned that I'll remember later, but I mean, I can't possibly fit this all in. So I'm just going to leave it, blend it there. I hope this helps whoever's watching, that you're doing great. Keep up the good work. It's not easy out there, believe me. Not easy at all. But we'll find a way. We'll find a way through by lifting each other up like this, I hope. So, peace, love, and light. Talk to you later. Bye.